back.
And I thank you, Ms. Malloy. At this time, I'd like to recognize my friend and colleague again from California, Mr. Levin, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Cameron, back in February, DOGE published a list of agency offices whose leases were to be terminated. The Bureau of Reclamation Southern California Area Office, which provides water management support throughout Southern California, including in my district, was and is, I just checked the list again, on that list, along with hundreds of other facilities across the nation. The Southern California Area Office administers several essential programs that assist with water conservation and efficiency strategies, water recycling and desalination programs, and other watershed management activities. The decision to close this office and others like it makes our water less secure. And now Southern California is doing everything it can, charging ahead with innovative desalination and water recycling and reuse technologies. But when I look at what DOGE is doing regarding these lease cancellations, I fear that they'll leave communities like mine vulnerable, despite our best efforts to develop a resilient local water supply. Mr. Cameron, were you personally involved in the decision to close this office? Were you in the room?
No, sir, I wasn't. My understanding is that the General Services Administration provided the department, other departments, a list of leases that they were planning to cancel. And we have been very actively involved in terms of going back to GSA and indicating situations where we thought eliminating those leases would be problematic.
That includes this office? You agree with the decision to close this office?
I'm not aware of that particular lease, to be honest with you, Congressman. I'm happy to look into it. I can tell you that there are quite a few Bureau of Reclamation leases where we've been actively talking about GSA about why it would be a real problem. But I'm happy to look into that one in particular.
What criteria do you think that DOGE used to decide which offices to close?
My impression is that it was actually a General Services Administration directive. Whether it was the DOGE people at GSA, I don't know. I think they were looking at leases that were about to expire across the whole government, across all federal agencies.
Do you think it's contrary to Reclamation's mission of protecting water resources in the interests of the American people to be closing these offices all over the place?
We clearly have an interest and a need to operate the government as efficiently as possible, to stretch the dollars that this subcommittee provides. And where we've identified situations where we think it's counterproductive to close offices, we've been actively chatting with our friends at the General Services Administration, and at least in a number of instances, successfully so. I'm not aware of this particular situation, but I'm happy to look into it. Mr. Levin.
Well, we'll follow up with you on that. Ms. Colosimo, I want to get back to the California projects that I mentioned earlier. Were you personally involved in the decision-making to not fund any of those projects or not fund all of those projects? And do you have any idea who specifically was?
Well, we deliberate the package with criteria and we submit to OMB, and OMB and the administration make the decision.
So do you have an actual human being that was responsible for making the decision? Do you have an email? Do you have?
We don't make the decisions, we make recommendations.
I understand that you don't personally, but you just said that OMB relayed those decisions to you. Do you have any correspondence with them that would indicate why those decisions were made?
I do not have any correspondence.
How did you?
Office of Management and Budget did their
how
business.
How did you learn that those determinations had been made?
They provided us the final product.
Who?
The Office of Management Budget did.
Who specifically?
They didn't provide it to me. I don't have a name, but it would be our examining unit.
Okay. Who in your examining unit received the information?
In our office?
I'm trying to understand who at OMB made the call.
Well, I think it goes all the way up to the director.
Okay, so you're telling me Russ Vogt, the director of the OMB, personally made the decision to take $250 million away from California and the blue states to give it to the red states. Is that your testimony?
My testimony is that he was engaged with his staff, as anybody would be, as
it's
much
a simple
as I
yes
know.
or no question.
I can't answer that question.
Okay.
I don't have full visibility on information.
Okay, I appreciate that. We'll ask questions for the record to try to understand, get to the bottom of it. You said before the criteria used were life safety, flooding, and American prosperity. Which of these criteria were not met by the California projects that I mentioned earlier?
I don't know the details of the California projects you're talking about.
Well, let's unpack one. How about the Sacramento Delta? Do you agree that that Sacramento Delta region is perhaps most at risk for catastrophic flooding of anywhere in the western United States?
I know they have challenges and risk, but I'm not at liberty to say what the trade-offs were on which the projects they chose versus
Do you not think that it meets life safety or flooding or American prosperity to try to protect lives and property in the Sacramento Delta region?
I'm sure it does. How it stacks against other projects is not my call.
Do you agree or disagree that it's one of the most flood-prone areas in the western United States, if not the entire country?
It is certainly susceptible to flooding.
All right,
Long
so
historical
it
flooding.
sounds like it doesn't meet the criteria that you laid out before. I don't think OMB followed, and I think you're getting played by OMB, and you don't even know who at OMB. And with that, I'll yield back.
Thank you, Mr. Levin. At this time, I'd like to recognize the distinguished vice chairman of this subcommittee, my good friend from the great state of Texas, Mr. Cloud, for 5 minutes.
Thank you very, very much, Mr. Chairman, and thank you all for being here. The work y'all do is extremely important.